Hi everybody. I'm as I promised this morning. I just thought I'd do a little quick live thing with you. I can't actually see the screen, so if you're asking me anything, just bear with me. Actually, I probably can. Just bear with me. It might go really slow if I do this, but I'm gonna try and see if I can, oh, spell me. Oh, I'm all lopsided. Never mind. Okay. Let me just see if I can, I'm going to have to straighten this up because it's no good. Okay, just bear with me a second. I'm going to just scroll that round. Otherwise, it's going to be all lopsided for you. Okay, that's better. You can see my messy desk now. Never mind. Let me just get this straight. Excuse me if it's bouncing around a little bit. Okay, that's a shame. I don't know why it's not actually why it's not letting me do it landscape, but never mind. If the camera suddenly goes weird, it's because I've head-butted it, because the camera's literally at my eye level. Right, okay. Hopefully you can see a bit better anyway. So, as I was saying on the earlier video, if you've not seen it yet, for the first time ever, we have just released all these fab stencils this week. So, I just really wanted to kind of like show you some of the stencils. Kind of look quite boring when you see them sometimes. I think so anyway. But these do actually work really well. And for me, as I was saying this morning, for me personally, the reason I kind of haven't really used stencils a lot in my crafting before is because the actual stencils themselves very often are like way too big for my actual card. You know, if I want to put a background on, you know, if it usually when you see a stencil with bones on, they're like great big massive things, and they just overwhelm. If you're just making a card and you just want a simple background, I find they just overwhelm your card. So anyway, I've purposely designed these quite small, and these just make, they're 6x6, so they just make perfect card backgrounds really. So we've got the bones, we've got the cute little fish, which, you know, they were just fab. Very detailed, these stencils. Managed to find someone who was really good at making them. We've got the trees, which we saw earlier. If you want to kind of, I'll show you some samples of these. But we've basically got 5 of these. And we've then got the foliage, or the tropical, whatever you want to call it. So it's got kind of like little branches and leaves here. Then we've got these 2 palm trees and some palm leaves as well. And that's kind of the one that, when I actually got this back from the manufacturer, I kind of thought, I think I've may have made a mistake on the design with this, and I should have filled this with other things. But actually, it's really useful, and I really like it. So obviously when I was designing, I did have the right thing in mind. And then we've got this one, which kind of really is probably my favourite maybe out of all of them, because it's got lots of different things. So I'm going to show you what you can kind of do. Now, I just thought, this is really basic, and a lot of you will know this already, I know. But I just thought that, you know, I was going to go back to basics and just explain how to actually emboss with your die cutting machine. Because, again, this is something that I've never really done. I don't know why. I just haven't done it. But I actually put these through my Gemini machine, and they just came out so well. I couldn't believe it. They're not hugely deeply embossed, but as you can see, you do get an emboss on it, and it is, you know, it's not that it's just pressed into the paper. It's a proper emboss on there, and that's just really down to the thickness of the actual material the stencils are made on. But yeah, I just put them through really easy peasy, and it's come out like an embossing folder. I mean, okay, an embossing folder would give you a much deeper emboss, but again, sometimes when you're making a card, you actually don't want that background overpowering everything else on the card. So what I thought I would just show you is, if you've never done this before and you're kind of thinking, I really don't know how, I don't know how the sandwich works or anything, I just thought I'd quickly show you. So this is my Gemini plates. Okay, so it's going to be the same whatever machine you actually use. So this is my magnetic plate, my magnetic mat. So you're going to take that off. Now I actually have a couple of shims on mine here, just so that I like it better for the embossing to put a shim in, because it just makes it a little bit tighter when it goes through the machine, so you actually get a slightly better emboss. So all you're going to do is you put the rubber embossing mat that comes with your machine, or it comes with most machines, I don't know one that doesn't. You're then going to put your paper on. So you would put your actual paper on the embossing mat, and then you actually put your stencil on top, okay? And then you run that through the machine, and the reason the sandwich is that way is because you want the stencil. This is the easiest way to remember it, because I used to always forget. The stencil needs to press into the paper, and to do that you need something soft underneath it. So it's like the hardest material is on the top, if you like, or if you flip it over when it put it in the machine, but I would put it through this way. So the hardest material is on the top, which is your stencil. Then your next hardest material is your paper, and then the soft material is your embossing mat, which is underneath. So that's just like, you know, so hard to soft, and that should help you just remember that sandwich. And you know, like when you, as I say, when you actually press that through, it's just going to come out like an embossing folder does, just with a slightly less embossed. But it doesn't, I don't think it really detracts from it. And as I showed you before on the others, these are some that I did before. Now this particular one, I actually put through, and I had the sandwich wrong, and this one's actually come out quite flat. But it doesn't really matter. And all I did was, when I actually put it on there, I just left the stencil on and then just literally stenciled through it with a distress ink, just to get a very kind of subtle look to it. And then the other one that I did was the trees. So I used this one, if I can find which way round it goes. I can never think it's that way. And this is quite cool, because this is actually a back to front stencil. So you can use it any way you want, and you can actually use it upside down if you want to as well. It is designed to go this way up, because you've kind of got some extra roots at the bottom here. But it doesn't matter, and you could actually make that the other way around if you wanted to. You know, or if you wanted to go abstract, you could do it like that, and you could layer it. You could do lots of things with this one. It's quite cool. So again, this one I just embossed slightly again. I think you can see that. You can just see it coming out here. And then I've actually just inked this to get this really cool effect. So I really like that one. That's really cool. This is the tropical one that I was talking about before. So I know I showed you this before. And my little tip for this is, if you want to ink or colorise these in any way, I would always suggest that you use kind of at least 2 different colours, and preferably 3. If you go for like a light, a medium and a dark tone, you're always going to get a better effect. Okay, so it's just like a little artist tip for you. And then there's the little fish. So the fish I used, I think it was pumice stone distress ink, which is just this real nice soft kind of grey, or it might actually be a distress. Do you know, I think it was maybe iced spruce distress oxide, because it's quite chalky, that one. I can't remember. And then we've got this one, which is quite cool, as you can see. So you can do lots of different things with this. And again, I embossed this, but you know, you don't need to emboss it. And obviously if you're going to emboss it, then you're going to get the whole effect, really. What you could do, if you really wanted to with this one, and I'm quite tempted to do this, is you could actually cut it in half. So where this is here, I'd be inclined to actually cut that in half there. So just get your scissors. I'm not actually going to do it on this one because I'll end up losing the pieces. But I would literally just snip those off there, and then it might just be a bit easier for you to manage for your embossing. But you can see here that basically it kind of gives you the negative. Hang on, that way around. It gives you the negative, so you can do your grass here. That also, if you turn it around the other way, or if you actually do this in a different colour, it becomes icicles as well. So you can use it that way too. And then these make great hedges, fields and clouds. So as you can see, here we've got one cloud there, and then this one is actually a different one. So you can actually kind of create scenes with these. So I thought I would just show you how to actually, you know, how it, I mean, we know how it comes out. It's not difficult at all. Let me just grab a piece of, oops, that's my chair. Just grab a piece of square card. Thought I was prepared, but I'm not as usual. Bear with me, I think this is square. Okay, so I have here lots of my distress inks at my side, and I actually use these little dauber things. I really like these. I just find it's a bit easier than the pads. The pads I just never seem to, I don't know, I contaminate the colours a lot. I'm too impatient. I got these on Amazon actually, and they were quite cheap for the number of colours that they are. And what I like is I can actually keep them like this, so I don't contaminate them so much. What I do is I tend to contaminate my oxides with my non-oxides, but to be honest, I'm finding it doesn't really matter. And in here, this half is meant to be my oxide colours, and this half is meant to be my just plain distress ink colours. So have a look for those. They're just called daubers, I think, sponge daubers, and you know, they were very cheap, well, relatively cheap. So I'm gonna grab my ink pads wherever I've put them. Oh lordy, I've been doing different things and I've kind of not, I'm not as organised as I thought I was. I don't know what I've done with them now, never mind. Right, I'm going to use oxides then for this. I don't know what I've done with my other inks. That's weird. I might not have, maybe haven't unpacked them. So this is the point, you see, where I start actually contaminating if I'm not careful. So I think I might just use a different colour, a new pad here. So what I'm going to do is I like to start with my clouds. Okay, so I'm just going to get a little bit of ink. And you think you're not really putting any on, and just scoosh it over the top. And don't worry if you get like a dark bit here, it doesn't matter too much, just blend it out. Okay, and then just move it. And how easy is that? And then I'm going to flip this around. And I know a lot of you, most of you probably already know how to do this and stuff. But sometimes I think it's just about kind of, you forget techniques and stuff, don't you? And I think sometimes it's just nice to kind of be reminded about some of the easy things that we can do that we forget about. So then the other cool thing is you can flip this. So now I've flipped it backwards, so I'm going to get a third row of clouds. Okay, so just position that. You just need to, so kind of when you're doing this, go onto the stencil and then rub it off the stencil onto your paper. And I am using a watercolour paper here, but it doesn't have to be. And as I say, you don't need very much ink at all on this. It looks like I'm not putting anything on there, but when you actually lift it off, it is there. Okay, so what I can then do is I'm going to create some, let's create some grass. So, and this is the point where all my ink pads have vanished. I have no idea where they've gone. All my blues have vanished on me. This is going to be interesting because I don't know these colours very well now. Bear with me. So, I've got twisted citron, peel paint and crushed olive. And if you don't do a swatch chart, I highly recommend it. I do this for everything. Anything that's colours, whether it's Spectrum Noir pens, Copics, ink pads, whatever, I always do a swatch because then I know exactly what colour I'm going for. So I'm going to start off here, and actually I want bundled sage, and I don't know if I've got that. In fact, I know I haven't. I don't know where it is, which is really strange. That's very weird that that's where that's gone, but never mind. Okay, so I can't use that. I am going to use, yeah, we'll start with crushed olive. And the reason I'm starting with crushed olive is it's the lightest one. So, again, get my dauber. And I'm actually going to go kind of halfway here, I think. And I'm just going to do that. So now, this has already created a horizon. So if you were doing a character, say you were going to do a Winnie or something like that, you know, that's all you need. You don't really need much more than that, I don't think, anyway. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to then move this and just do a couple more. And it starts to kind of give us a little bit of, again, you can flip it the other way around, don't forget. But if you do it the other way around, you're kind of going the opposite way and creating a negative. See how this is now a negative? But you can do that and mix them up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to peeled paint. So I'm going light to dark, okay? And I'm just going to do the same thing again. So this time, just move your stencil. And because we're doing a different colour, it's kind of going to give us quite a cool effect. So peel paint is kind of a very similar kind of colour. And just tape it down normally, or just make sure you hold it quite firm. And then I'm just going to flip that up that way to get rid of, we've got a white area in there which we don't want. And you can see how it's really quick to build up. And then I'm going to go in with my twisted citron, which is a really nice bright green. This is kind of almost, this is really is a bit of a grass green. So just let's go in with that. And you can see how it's just starting to build up. And then you can colorise where you created that negative effect before with the white. Now you're starting to colour over that, so you actually get, even though you've only got one of this twisted green, it actually comes out as a completely different colour because you're actually layering the colours now. And then if you've got any like little spots, you could actually go over if you wanted to. So you've now got complete grass. So the other thing that's really cool with this now is when you actually look at this stencil, where the clouds are, if you actually do the clouds upside down, this basically becomes either sea or snow, or also it can then become mountains. So let me just show you how to do the mountains, because this is kind of quite cool. And it wasn't really intentional. Well, it kind of was intentional, but it worked out a lot better than I thought it was going to do. So let me just grab, I'm going to do it with ice spruce, okay? And that's because I really like this colour. I find it's a really useful colour. So I'm going to position my mountains here, just above where the grass is. And I'm just going to do a slightly different technique with this one. So where this peak is here, I'm actually, instead of just kind of blending, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from right to left. So I'm going to do this. So you're kind of scratching. Okay, so that's like one. And then at this side, I'm going to do the same again, but I'm going to go in the opposite direction. And where each time where you've got that kind of like peak here, where it actually peaks that little mountain, you can treat that as an actual mountain peak. So change direction as you go, and you'll get this really cool effect. And then leave your stencil on, and I'm just going to get a little bit of vintage photo, and I'm just going to, I only want a tiny bit of this, so I'm literally only adding a little tiny bit. So just slightly brush that on and follow the direction that you did before. Okay. So I'm just literally doing it kind of like where those mountain peaks are, if you like. And then if you want to, you can kind of blend that in a bit. And it already looks quite cool when you look at it like that. But then when you look at it like that, it looks wow. So they actually do look like mountains. Now if you do it and it kind of, you feel like you need a little bit more definition maybe, what you can do is just build that up slightly. So you could maybe just go in with a little bit more vintage photo. So for instance here, I want this to actually look like it's coming down in front of the other one. So basically you need to make your mountains kind of like look a bit different. So can you see what I mean? So this one now is kind of like in front of the other one. And then it looks even better if you flip, I haven't got much room on here, if you flip your stencil the other way and then actually put a second row behind and try and do your direction slightly different. So go the opposite way to what you did on the front one. So this one will go that way, and again go back in with that ice spruce. Went the wrong way then. Doesn't really matter that much, but you do just get quite a cool effect. So it's either molehills or it can be like the mountains off in the distance, which is kind of what I like to think of it as being. So we're building up quite a cool little scene, and this scene is really great if you're doing dinosaurs or anything like that. So if you've got the Sticks and Stones kit from the website, there's just such a good you know, a good effect to do on that. So we've also got the sun here, and I'm using this I think this is fossilized amber, and it's the perfect colour for a sun. I haven't even dipped this into my ink pad. I've only used this in my ink pad once, but you don't want a lot in this. So I'm just going to put this really gently there. And then where's my foliage? So now I'm going to bring in my foliage stencil and use these two together. So I'm using the Twisted Citron, and I'm just going to pick out some of these leaves. And the leaves kind of go in different directions, and I want the leaves to come down. So I'm going to try and pick the ones that are actually with the stalks that are pointing that way, because then they're coming downwards, if you understand what I mean. And you can obviously turn this around if you want to. So we can turn this that way, And you might find, yeah, it's better this way actually. So I'm going to go down this way. And get some of these that are coming in from the edge. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the peeled paint. And we'll just add some of that on. So I'm adding those two colours. And then I'm just going to twist. And we'll add some extra leaves. And then look what you're doing, because, you know, it starts to build up quite quickly. So I quite like that, but I just want a little bit more on, I think, around here. So we'll do a bit more up here. You can see how it really does quickly build up. And then what I want to do is I'm going to take some of these tropical leaves here. And I'm just going to do this quite gently with these, and I'm placing one at a time here. And I'm not pressing too hard because I actually want to get two colours going again in there. And then I need, oh, where's my colour? I've got pine needles. Is it pine needles that I wanted to use? Yeah, I think so. So I'm going to add pine needles into the mix. And that's this really nice kind of like sort of seagrass green, if you like. And that's perfect for using with these bigger leaves. Gosh, I wish I'd given myself enough room to work. So this one's quite strong. Okay. And just move them around. And then where you've got these big palms here, you can also use those, and I find that these are quite good for like using facing down like this. So they are, and also for coming off the sides here. So when you're using these, you might not want to actually use them with the you might not want to add the stalk onto this bit, and then add some of that twisted colour, and look how it starts to sort of instantly build up, and then just build them up, and you just get these really, really great kind of like little scene going on. And then where you've got all this bit at the bottom, if you want to, maybe add some extras up here. So let's do, I mean, the really great thing is you can tailor make this to what you want it to be. So let's add dark one in there. We could do with some darker ones here. And you can pick out just these extra like little ones that are gonna, and just make sure they're hanging down if that's the way you're doing it. You know, make sure that they're in the right direction for what you're actually wanting it to be. Okay, and then we'll just put another dark one in here. And again, just add a bit more of that other green and just kind of like makes it pop look. And then we'll put, it's about building and layering. So we'll put that one in. And by adding the different colours, it makes it completely unique. And then what we can do is we can also add some extra little tiny ones down here. So again, so something that started off like really simple, you know, very, very quickly we've built up quite a nice little funky background here. I really like this effect. You're going to be seeing this a lot from me, I think. I just think it works so well. And just keep mixing those colours. But can you see how it's the fact that you're mixing the colours together, and all I'm doing is using 3 colours each time. And then all I'm going to do now with this is, because this grass is quite light here, I'm going to come back in with that crushed, I think it was crushed olive. Maybe not. But I'm just going to smooch this over. In fact, I don't think it was that colour. I think it was this one. And if you want to, you know, you can come back over. I might just actually add a little bit more. Just add a bit more grass here. And just get a bit more going on in there, just to finish it off. There you go. And how cool is that? And obviously, if you're going to do an autumn one, you can actually change it up and make it autumn as well. So there's that one that we've just done. And then here's a slightly different one. This was the first one that I did. And I just realised I can't, I don't know if you could, I hope you've been able to see that. It's off the side. Sorry. So, you know, just very, very quick and easy scenes. So those stencils are actually on the website now. You can buy them individually, or you can buy all, there's 5, and you can buy all 5 on a special deal. And then the last thing that I just wanted to show you, just because between the 2 videos today, a bit of a treat. I'm on a mission to try and do more videos. I just wanted to show you this. This is what I was doing in between. I just decided to have a little colour and a play, and I'd actually coloured him yesterday, but this is the bear from the Berry Cute stamp set, which we've launched this week, and again I've coloured him with this distress inks. I've done a couple of different tutorials on colouring with distress inks, and I'll try and do some more for you, but I just wanted to show you, you know, kind of using these nice backgrounds. And then he's going to go on a card somewhere. I don't know which one I might put him on. I don't know. I think he probably deserves to have some trees in his background. So I'll probably do that. Anyway, that's me over and out. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to leave you in peace for your Saturday now. 2 videos in one day. My goodness, I don't know what's come over me. Just before I go, I need to just tell you, we are back on Hochanda on, I think it's Wednesday, the 4th of July at 12, and I think it's either 3 or 4 o'clock, with a brand new release. It's that time of year. The big C has arrived. Every year I try and resist it because it's just so ridiculously early. But I know a lot of you are already making all your Christmas cards, and that will be, it won't be the only products that we're launching for Christmas, but that will be our first Christmas release. So watch out for that. I'll give you another reminder in the group, and hopefully this time we'll do a little sneaky peek. I didn't get a chance this time round because I was just absolutely swamped, but it's on my list of things to do. I always try and do a sneak peek. It just doesn't happen very often. And we'll try and do a little giveaway. So watch out this week, because I'll do that later on this week, probably Friday or something like that. And hope to see you there. Okay, over and out. Bye.